All right, so for our latest project, we're going to be taking a look at this very nice old Pioneer multiple cassette changer. This is model CT-M6R, and I believe this is personal project number 4 as I'm winding down my own projects this summer here. I did have another one lined up. I don't think I'm going to have time to get to it, but I definitely wanted to get to this one. This unit comes courtesy of an old friend of mine from back when I had my shop. He was always going to auctions, always going to yard sales, buying things, and so he was always bringing me something. But this was part of his own stereo back in those days, one that he has long since abandoned. But he had this unit we were talking about quite a few months ago, and he said it was in an outbuilding on his property. I told him bring it in and let me check it out and see if we can get it back up and going. I would love to have a chance to work on one of these again. I owned a different version of this back about 20 years ago. I owned the one that has the 6 cassettes on the left and then a single cassette on the right. And that was part of a system that I also abandoned after a few years. So in this video, we're going to see what we can find out about this thing. It is quite dirty, and you can tell it's been sitting around for a long time, so who knows? Maybe it'll still work, and if not, we'll see if we can get it working. So as always, we're going to come in, we'll have a look at the controls and features, and then we'll get it opened up and see what the inside's looking like. As for our intro music this time, we're going to go back to 1989, checking out the King's X album, Gretchen Goes to Nebraska. An album totally slipped my radar back then. I was listening to other things, but it's no wonder this band has a ton of loyal fans. Very impressive album, lots of material here that I like. But let's check out one of the fan favorites from this band, Summerland. And then we'll get started on the Pioneer. All right, let's take a quick tour of the buttons, controls, and features of the unit. We'll start off on the left here as always. Hard power switch for on and off, but it is standalone IR controllable. The unit that I had, I actually did have the factory remote. This one he probably never had the remote, as I'm sure he probably got this at an auction somewhere or maybe a pawn shop. And even if he did have the remote, it is long since gone now. This door will come down. I believe we can force it open here. And the tray will come out motorized, obviously. See, there's open and close here along with the cassette number that you want to play. There's a cassette return button here, and then your transport controls, rewind, reverse play, stop, forward play, and fast forward, record, pause, and then record and mute, I believe is what that is. There is CD synchro here. If you have a Pioneer CD player, you can jack them both together and kind of synchronize up recording of a CD. And then some controls here, relay random, which is a function I loved on mine, just to put in a few tapes and hit random and let it kind of pick out some songs for you. Scan, and then all rewind, which will rewind every tape in the deck. And then of course timer record here. He's got it set to play. I'm sure that was something that happened when it was being transported here. Dolby B and C, noise reduction, and then the reverse mode where you can just play one side and it'll stop, or play one side and the other, or otherwise just continuously play. And then the counter mode and reset does have a record level here, which is an actual control, and then a record balance. On the back, I know there's obviously the 4 RCA jacks, and I believe there is the 3.5 jacks that work in tandem with the synchro functions, or you can just patch it into a Pioneer receiver and have one unified remote for everything, which is the way I had my system back in those days. So I don't think there's any need to look at the back of it. Let's go ahead and get the top off and see. You can tell it's been sitting around in a very dirty environment, which he admitted it was in an outbuilding. And so it's been sitting around for a long time. Let's get the top off and just have a quick look on the inside. Then we'll get it plugged in and see what it'll do. All right, as we continue on here, I got the lid off and it's looking way better on the inside than it did on the outside. So we'll just kind of start over here. They have all the circuitry kind of laid out on this L-shaped circuit board. Obviously, that's all the room that they have to work with, since the mechanism takes up the other 70% of the chassis here. And just looking at this, I mean, everything looks really clean. That belt looks pretty well intact there, and even the pressure rollers don't look terrible. So he must have not used this too much, or when he got it, it hadn't been used too much. I'm not seeing a whole lot of wear and tear here. There is a belt underneath this for running the drawer in and out. I believe this belt is the belt we've seen here is what runs the mechanism to meet the tape that it wants. And then the cap pretty good. Can't really tell, but it's not gooed up. Now the tape deck that I had back in those days, you could still just call up Pioneer and order up new pressure rollers. And when I got mine from a pawn shop, and physically it looked great, but the pressure rollers had a ton of residue on them. So instead of just cleaning them up, I just ordered 4 new pressure rollers. And of course, to change those, I went ahead and disassembled all of this and pulled this mechanism out so I could work on it. It was very simple, as I remember, very straightforward to take it all apart. And we'll probably break this one down in this video because I'll want to take a look at the belt underneath here. And it'll be easier to change the capstan belt if we need to. But otherwise, this looks really, really good. Very clean. So the elements did not make it to the inside of the chassis. And I don't see any rust or anything, so it must not have got too wet or had too much exposure to moisture. One thing I will notate on the back of the unit, probably already know this. Well, we'll bring it to your attention in case you don't. This unit was made in Japan. Very quality piece of consumer audio. I don't know what year this was, 89, 90, 91, somewhere in there. Looks to me to be about right. So let's go ahead and hook it up, and we'll stick in just a standard record tape. That way if it gets ate up, no big deal. We haven't lost a whole bunch. And we'll see if it will do anything and maybe even play. All right, as I pick back up with you here, went ahead and got it hooked up. Power is applied. I got no display. It will do this, but it won't do anything else. I can see the capstan motor will turn. You can see that happening there, but I got nothing. But I did hear a noise. Oops, let's hit cassette return. I did hear a noise, like a popping type of noise. So I'm not sure what that is all about. This is probably a loose connection on the display tube, probably. So I think the first thing let's do is, let's go ahead and I'll take the front panel off. I'll bring you back and we'll look for a loose connection here. But ultimately, we're jumping right in. We've got to pull this mechanism out and see what's going on. The belt looks to me like it's fine. There's only one belt in it that I can see, but something definitely happened when I hit play and it made some type of a popping noise. So give me a moment. I'll pull the front off. I'll bring you back and we'll see if we can locate a loose connection for getting this back in order. Well, I suppose we don't need to pull the front off for something that obvious. You can see them from the back of the unit here. So we'll just kind of touch these up here real quick. If I can do it without burning this plastic up. That should do it. There's a couple more down here on the other end. They're not looking like those, but I'll touch them up as well. And I might just go ahead and get it back up and running, and then I'll worry about pulling it off. Let's see here, and do it proper. Let's see here. That should have got us going. Let's see. There we go. Not that that would have anything to do with it, but what the heck, right? I'm not sure why it's doing this. Yeah, obviously not going to do anything for the mechanism, but that's all right. We'll go ahead and pull the tape back out, and I will go ahead and get you set up over the head here, and we'll start taking the mechanism apart. Let me get you back in here with a quick update. I went ahead and just kind of put my hand in here and kind of manually spun this gear to get this carriage assembly kind of out of the way. And once I had it out of the way, I could kind of get an idea of what's going on here a little bit better. Take a look down in there, see if I can get some light on it. You can see that auto reverse head is kind of cocked to one side. And the reason for that is this. I found this laying down in there. And that's the two halves of the gear that rotates that head back and forth between forward and reverse direction. Now, I've fused a lot of gears together, but I don't know, that's so thin, I don't know if I'll be able to do that or not. But it doesn't matter, we still got to get it out before we can even look at it to make sure nothing else is wrong or broke. So, as I recall, these 6 screws, and there's one here, and there's one on the back side, right there, and then there's a couple in the mechanism here. This should just pick up and fold over. There's only the cable here. We'll cut this wire tie. We'll undo this one, and this whole piece should just fold out of the way, and then we can get this loose. And then the 2 cables here to get the mechanism out. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm way more concerned about this broken gear thing because I'm almost sure, I've never seen one of these tape decks, even any style of this mechanism in my friend's boneyard. So the chances are pretty good. We might be dead in the water here. So let me investigate a little further. I'm gonna go ahead and get it apart. Like I said, just the screws out and this folds over, and I'll give you a little bit more information once I get it apart, if there's more that I'm missing here. Well, we'll pick back up after I get that mechanism freed up and we can get a better look at it. All right, let me get you back in here and kind of get you caught up with where I'm at. Went ahead and did the disassembly kind of in pieces. It's a little easier than I thought it was. You will not need to remove these 6 screws. These only hold in the top portion of the cassette tray. There's a switch assembly here that lets the microprocessor know if there's a cassette in any of the slots or what slots have cassettes. There's only 4 screws you need to take out. 1 on the left, 1 on the right, 1 on the back here, and 1 over here. And that will come off of this portion. And of course, you'll have to take that wire connector off. I went ahead and removed the flex cable that goes to this motor assembly right here. That's easy enough to do. There's a little clip right here that you can get out if you're careful. Once you get this portion off, you can get it out of the way, and then this piece, the bottom piece, which contains the cassette mechanism, sets in the bottom here, and there's 4 screws that hold it in place. 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and 1 here. And then, of course, a wire connector you remove, and you can slide it back instead of taking off the front face, I decided to remove the transformer so I'd have a little bit more room and I could slide it back, tip it up, and get it out with no trouble. As for this, once you take out the 2 screws that are right here to get this piece off, it's still held by 2 screws underneath, one here and here. And it sits in here just like this. Once you have those 2 screws in, it's nice and stable. And so remove those and it comes right out. And since things aren't complicated enough, I thought we would just go ahead and get a little alcohol involved. It is a personal project. Doesn't take much to see what's going on here. Basically, get you in a little closer. You can see I have to press up on that head, and there's a little piece right here that when you put the gear on that broke in half, that, you know, is a retaining clip that holds it in place. And there's the auto reverse spring, one side connected to the gear here, or the lever piece here, and then one side connected to the gear that's broken in half. I don't know. I mean, I've fixed a lot of things, but this is so thin. Gluing it definitely probably ain't gonna work. Most ain't gonna work. And so you'd have to melt something into it to get some stability out of it. I don't know how that's all gonna go. I'm gonna see what I can do with it. We got nothing to lose. If we can't get the gear fixed, I'm quite sure my friend does not have one. We ain't getting a new one, so we'd have to buy a tape deck that has this mechanism in it and then risk breaking the one that's in it, taking it out. So I'm not sure if there's a way we can make this to where it's in one fixed position and just plays on one side. I'd rather see that than see it go to the junkyard and not work at all. So I'm going to explore possibly trying to fix the gear, and then if not, then maybe a way to put that head in place without it moving, which I don't know. I don't know how that's going to go either. So give me a few moments to ponder this a little bit, and I'll pick back up with you. All right, let me go ahead and get you back in here and let you know what I found out about this gear. Unfortunately, I pretty much knew before I even started there was not going to be any getting this gear back together. I did attempt a little glue action and a little melting action, but it's just way too thin. And even if I would have been able to get it back together, I found out there's another obstacle. I went ahead and pulled this service manual for this unit, and here is what I have discovered. After looking at this, you can see the metal post that the flex cable's coming out of. That post is flared out at the end, so that gear was put on there, and then that metal was flared out in an effort to keep that gear in place. This silver little washer right here is only a grounding washer, which actually goes on the bottom, and the gear sits on top of it. So unfortunately, I based on what I see in the service manual, since this gear is not sold, this is not sold as a separate piece, I believe you would have to buy the head assembly with that gear already attached to it, and perhaps in this body. I don't see any other way to get it in there. So we ain't gonna get one of those. This part probably hasn't been available for at least 20 years, 25 years maybe, a very long time. So what do? Do we just throw it away? We're not gonna do that. We're gonna see if we can get it up to the point where it'll play a tape in the forward direction. So what I did was I set the head in place for the forward direction. The azimuth screws have already been adjusted to when that gear or that head is flipped to one direction, there's a stop point, and then the same applies in the reverse direction. So the azimuth has already been set. All we have to do is keep it in that position, which I did, and then I decided I would rubber silicone it. That way it's not a permanent thing. In case we were to revisit this unit, we haven't done anything to it that we couldn't remove. We could get this silicone off without much effort, and I didn't even use a whole bunch. But that head is in position all the way to the right side for the forward play, and then pushed all the way down. And of course, as the heads engage, it's not going to cause any force on the head coming back up. So we should be okay there. So I think what I want to do is go ahead and I'll set the camera up overhead and we'll start assembling all this on camera, get it all put back together. I went ahead and removed this little spring right here that attaches to the gear that is broken, and then also to the secondary gear that's in the mechanism. I'm not sure we can see it here. Yeah, there it is right there. The little white gear sits right behind that flex cable that mates with the gear that's broke. And so I didn't want that spring flip-flopping around since it's not connected to the gear that's broken. So I went ahead and removed that. So I think we should have a pretty good shot at getting this thing back together and getting it to play a tape. So I'll get the camera set up overhead and we'll pick back up. All right, let's go ahead and start reassembling everything. The first thing we're gonna do is put the cassette mechanism back into the main chassis piece here, or the main mechanism piece. It's held in by 2 screws underneath, and we'll put that in real quick. But I did look at the belt in this. It looks fine to me. I'm not going to mess with it. If this was a 100% repair, we would probably go ahead and change it, just simply because we don't want to have to take it all back apart again in case that belt were to break. Now this sits right here across these little guides, and once you get it into place, it rests there quite nicely. So I'm just going to hold it in by my hand here while I put the first screw in, and they go underneath here. There's one on this side, one on the other side. And I'm going to put the first one in just a little loose until I get the second one going. Now let's get the other one on the other side. We'll go ahead and tighten those down. Don't need to go crazy, but they do need to be nice and snug. There we go. Takes care of that. Now let's slide up the main deal here. And this is the reason why I moved the transformer. Now I'm not so sure how well you can see what I'm doing here, but I'm tipping it down so I can get the first part of it in. And then let's move these wires behind the transformer here. And I'll give you a better shot once I get it into position here. And once you get it in position where it needs to go, there's no way you can really do it wrong. It has guides that kind of guide it to the holes where it needs to be. And so, like in the back here, it just kind of locks into place, and then from that point you'll put your screws in. But what I'm going to do first is put my transformer back. Be 4 screws for the transformer. So sure how well you can see that. I'm trying to keep everything in the shot here, but yeah, there we go. I'm not the best camera person, as I'm sure if you watch my videos, you probably already know. A little shorter screwdriver will help there. Okay, then we're going to have the 4 screws that will get the rest of this put into place. There's also 2 underneath, which are very important. But we'll get these put in first. So sure, there it is there. Then one down in here. there. And one back here on the back side. Okay. And then we'll do the two underneath. They're a little bit longer. I'm trying not to damage that flex cable right there. And these are here and here. And again, these are a little bit longer than the other ones are. Okay. Let's go ahead and pick this back up. Flip it over. Now we'll put the top piece on. But before we do that, there's something that definitely needs to be pointed out on this top piece. And that is this white little alignment piece, or whatever this is. It's just a little bracket, but it is important. And the cut groove in it goes right here, runs along this. So if this piece is way over here, when you try to put this on, it won't catch right here, and your tape won't slide out. So you definitely need to make sure that that's all the way over, back towards the front of the tray. And then make sure that groove is lined up. These little trays are caught in it. If that makes any sense. Now this piece, we'll just dip it underneath. There's a cable right here. I'm just going to dip it underneath that, trying to avoid the wires, and also the wires in the back where the transformer are at. Go. That'll set down just like that, and I'll make sure it's lined up. It kind of, just like the bottom piece, just kind of falls into place once you have it where you need it. Okay. The first thing we're going to do is, we have our two screws here in the cassette mechanism. I want to go ahead and put those in. Let me pause here. I'm going to answer my phone and I'll be right back. All right, picking back up with you here the following day, as the text I got yesterday kind of blew me off course a little bit. So when we left off, I believe this screw was getting ready to be put in. And we want to make sure that we get this included with it, because this is a grounding pin. And so what we'll do is go ahead and put that in. And then I'll show you what that pin is all about. I want to make sure we get it nice and secure there. Okay. So basically you can see right here on the carriage, there's a metal piece. And when that comes up to mate with the mechanism here, it bumps into this little metal spring that goes on this screw right here. So you definitely want to make sure you get that in there. Now, a couple of little things I've already did. I plugged in this plug down here because this one's kind of tough to get. You can do it, but you kind of got to, you know, get both fingers across it and push it down in at the same time. It's kind of the widest one of all of them. There's a couple of screws right here, but I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and stick those in there. Thought I had already done those. I was trying to expedite things along a little bit here, but I got interrupted again. Let's see. There's a ground wire right here. You want to make sure you get that on there. I will back that up and show it to you. See that I'm out of the shot here. There it is, right there. Just want to make sure you get that ground wire on the top one, and then there's a screw right there on the bottom as well. Let's go ahead and stick the screw in the other side here. No, that one I already did. I did the screw on the other side and put the wire back. And I also plugged in the head, so let's take a look at that. There's a shield that goes over it. There's where your head wire goes and plugs into that. But there's a little shield that goes over it. And you can see right here it has some pieces, so it'll go in and then slide to the right. Let's see if I can get you in there and show you what I'm talking about. Slides to the right and then mates up with a hole there, and you'll have another screw that goes in. There we go. And then these cables, of course, go to the mechanism, and you'll want to make sure these are pulled out before you put the wires in. That's good. There's one here as well. And I already put the one back right over here. This one's really easy to do. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. And of course, one of the reasons that I spun this direction is to get access to the tab right here, or the connector for this flex wire. So the first thing we're going to do is put the little flex wire capture on the flex wire. Actually, I just got to remember how it goes. So it's going to go like that. But before we put that in, let's put this cable in. Now, I don't know about the tape deck. I never had a problem with the flex cable on a tape deck, but they use a similar flex cable on the CD player, and it went bad all the time. I think they eventually changed it to a different cable. What is that? Then once you get it in, you can just push that connector. I got my finger underneath the connector pushing in on it. Then you can bring your piece back. Hold your wire like that. And getting this in is kind of tricky to do, honestly, because you can't really see what you're doing. It's like you can get one side started and then the other side is hard to try to get in. So you got to kind of play with it a little bit to get both sides going at the same time. All the while trying to keep that cable flat. So yeah, you can barely just get one side in there, and then the other side wants to slip out. There we go. So that keeps that snug, and of course allows this to flex back and forth when the carriage is moving back and forth. That takes care of that. And then we got a couple more screws on this side here. One down here. Then one in the back here, which is right next to that cable. and that's it. And then I put this wire back to this little wire holder here, and then there was a screw over on that side. So what this should do when we plug this in is that should reset, and we should be able to play a tape in this. Let me turn on some bench audio here. I'll take the camera off of the overhead, and we'll see what this thing will do. All right, power applied. Let's turn it on. And also I do want to note that that plastic white piece is lined up where it needs to be, right on the edge of the trays for the cassettes. Let's go ahead and eject. And let's put us in a little Ingve, one of our favorite test tapes here. And that is tape 6. So we will go to tape 6 and play. Now, of course, we're in the forward direction. Azimuth and everything is good. Remember, the azimuth was already set from the factory. All I had to do was just get the head in position to where it wouldn't move, and we didn't really need to tweak anything up. So if we hit reverse, it will go into reverse, but you're going to hear this side of the tape going backwards. So not exactly useful, but we saved the tape deck from, you know, not working at all. It is working. So there is that. Let's go ahead and return tape 6. Let's see. And open the door here. And let's make sure it'll go all the way to tape 1. Play. It is just so cool how that operates. So, I mean, it's better than it not working at all. If this was my tape deck and I had paid the money to buy this brand new back in the day and couldn't get a part for it, and somebody told me, well, I mean, the best I'll be able to do is just get it to play in the forward direction, I would take that over trashing the tape deck. Now, there could be, I didn't look, maybe there's a new old stock part on eBay you could get and fix this up. My friend's not going to do that. He doesn't care about this tape deck. But if you know, really had this in your system and wanted to get it fixed, there could be that scenario. In which case, to fix this wouldn't be a big deal at all. You know, changing that head out, you know, you'd have to reset the azimuth on it, but you know, that wouldn't be that terrible to do, because you're going to change that whole assembly out. So I think we did a lot, you know, probably more than anyone else would have done to try to preserve this and get it working again. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to take it to my friends. I don't think I'll put this in the boneyard. We'll find a shelf to put this on just in case run across another one that would have the head in it. So let me go ahead and set you up in the tripod here, and we'll do a test record and see how well it will record using a chrome tape. So give me a moment for that, and we'll pick back up. All right, let's go ahead and come back in. We're going to do a quick record test with this. I've already done one with a standard tape. I think you'll be surprised. It sounds very good. So we're going to try one with a chrome tape. With Dolby engaged, we're going to use this TDK SA90. We're going to throw this in slot 4. This is one that automatically detects what type of tape it is. And that portion of it is working. And so let's go ahead and we'll use something from this King's X record, Gretchen Goes to Nebraska. And we'll do a song on this one called I'll Never Be the Same. So let's reset this. Hit record. And let's go ahead and get that started. All right, let's go ahead and we'll cut it off right there. And let's back it up and see what it sounds like. All right, here we go. Well, I don't know what you're listening to this on, but it sounds to me like it's about a one-to-one recording. It does a fantastic job, which is not unusual for one of these pioneers. They all seem to make really decent recordings, even from this era. The ones that came before this one, also fantastic recording decks. So don't know anytime it's auto reverse. You never know what the record on the opposite side will sound like. But for the forward direction here, it sounds pretty good to me. So I think we'll wrap it up on this one. Gone about as far as I can go with it. Like I said, this one will be taken to my friend's shop. We'll put this inside on a shelf somewhere, hopefully run across one at some point that has some other kind of catastrophic problem that we could harvest parts out of and finish the repair. Otherwise, maybe he'll get one in that has some type of transport problem that he can use parts from this one to repair the one he's working on. But I took a towel, cleaned the face up of this a little bit. It looks really good in the face. It's scratched all to hell along the edge right here. Again, not something that's too surprising. But as always, I want to thank you guys very much. I appreciate you checking out the videos on my channel as well as this video for the Pioneer CT-M6R Multi-Cassette Changer cassette deck. And I do believe it was Sony made one probably around the same time period, but I believe it was a carousel. and I did work on one of those at one time, but I'd have to say I prefer this version over the Sony. I just think it's cool how the mechanism of this works. Very sleek, and you know, same thing you would expect for anything made during this time period. So again, I think this will probably be the last of my own projects I get to. I had another one I wanted to do, but I don't think I'm going to have the time to squeeze that one in before I pick back up on your guys' stuff. So we'll go ahead and finish this one out and listen to a little bit more of this King's X, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.